It's starting to grow, booking parties. Good. That's a month and a half. Yeah, we have a lot of debates on condos we have. Yeah. We plan, we gotta do. A lot of people don't want to do it. I'm just there. But then they say it's all of them were raising up.
Unless you were doing something here. You know? That's why it came with some.
You know, maybe we can't be locked up forever.
I invited Mel,
Okay.
because Mel and I used to, in the strategic committee.
It's up to you, your choice.
Save
If you're
settings.
comfortable wearing a mask, fine. If you're rather have it. Well, we. It's fully enforced, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, if you go through it, I did read your record. I was kind of doing it about 4 years ago. Something came up, we were talking about it, came back, and got busy. And I didn't want to do something.
Did they do this for 2 months?
Yeah, we went last week. Yeah, for, you know, okay.
Sunday.
Remember?
The Zoom feature. Hello. I wasn't. I just did it right now. Is it? Can you see if it's working? I'm just curious.
Okay.
So I'm just pretend to start the presentation, but I kind of need to put this a little bit.
Did you find that on the flyer?
The Zoom thing?
Yeah.
No, we're just experimenting with that right now.
Okay.
As we purchased all that. So.
And will people have access to come on without an ID, or they'll need like a,
What do you mean?
like, if they just click on the Zoom, will they just automatically be?
Yeah, there's a YouTube live stream,
Oh, okay.
which I'm trying that out. This is a live stream, so they see this right now.
Okay.
I don't know if they want to be part of it, but I think I just wanted to put this closer. Out for a second. Hey, do you want to start? Oh.
How you doing? Good. All this stuff is happening now in this, in DC, the voting board members. There was some complaint like that, right? Yeah. Yeah, and I'm so glad I'm not dealing with that.
We haven't had that severe.
Another question,
But, you know,
how about the vaccine for schoolers? People complain about that?
not yet.
Not yet, it's pretty coming out.
But there's concern, you know.
Are you guys going to conference this year? 2 weeks?
first of December.
There's gonna be some. And I was thinking of actually,
And we didn't do it last year.
a lot of learning, we're gonna do this. We go to conferences in a 2 weeks, we'll be talking about a lot of stuff.
Then it'll probably all change the following week.
Oh, they talk about trauma. Probation.
I mean, your last resort is you. Which way them, but, you know, that's their different stuff, which is- And then that, and then, yeah, but, just try to, I think,
Yeah. Just give it about 2 more minutes, 2 to 3 minutes,
No problem.
and then we will start at 6:30. Okay. Good. So now recording. We are the sample. CD.
You need paper?
Yeah.
You need a notepad or just regular?
This is fine, just one sheet.
We can say all the things you want.
Maybe this is to a sign-in sheet just to get the information. I'm gonna just pass around a sign-in sheet just to get your email and your name and phone number if you want to.
All right. Well, hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. As you know, that there has been a lot of changes to the Cutler Rosie area as of the past few months, especially with turn signals that people have been requesting, and thank you to the state for doing that. Also in terms of the road diet that you see here on 416 as you head over to East DeRosie. But we have many more exciting things to get done. And I am so appreciative of the state for being here and really recognizing the need in Cutler Rosie. I will just share that there is an opportunity for this investment of $3 million to redo the 63. From the state will have a conversation with you, share some charrettes that they've made along the 63 in order to receive feedback and suggestions, so that way we can move forward with the projects that the community can love and enjoy. And in addition to that, Cutler Rosie Joint Unified School District is also having a meeting for other improvements around and the building of a new auditorium and a water aquatic center as well. So again, a lot of great things in the works for this community. And so I want to hand it over to John, who will be the first presenter. But I also want to say thank you to the county. The county is here as well, and we have TCAG, Tulare County Association of Government, as well as the County of Tulare, who will also be suggesting or inquiring feedback on a proposal for a bike pedestrian opportunity that comes through the Cutler Rosie community as well. So with that, I will turn it over to John.
All right, thank you so much, Supervisor. Yeah, I'd like to introduce myself again. My name is John Liu, the Deputy District Director for the Division of Maintenance Operations for Caltrans District 6. I do have several of my colleagues here. This is Isidro Perez of our Traffic Management Unit. He'll actually be providing the Spanish translation after every slide. He will be translating it. I have Brad Cole, he's our landscape architect. And we have one more person who's actually in another meeting right now in the other room. As soon as he finishes this meeting, he will join us. But his name is Kurt Hatton. He's actually 6 Clean California coordinator. He usually does some of the slides, but I'll cover his slides.
Buenas tardes, aquí estamos en el lugar de Caltrans. Yo me llamo Isidro Pérez, yo vengo de tráfico, de división de tráfico. Aquí está John Liu, es el director de Maintenance Operations. Tenemos a Brad Cole, el arquitecto del pasaje. Y tenemos otro que está con nosotros, está en otra junta. Se llama Kurt Hansen, él es el coordinador de este programa de Clean California.
Do you think that we may not need the Spanish translation given the people in the audience? So is there a show of hand of someone that only speaks Spanish that will need the translation?
¿Ocupan el español o no?
We need Filipino.
So I think
We could
good.
forego,
Yeah.
forego translation. Okay. You're off the hook, Isidro. All right, so let's go ahead and we
You
focus.
did a great job.
Yes, you did a great job.
Would you need it much more later?
Okay, we can advance the slides. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cover very briefly what the Clean California Initiative is about. And then we're gonna get into the specifics as far as what we wanna do to improve Highway 63, that $3 million that we are allocating to the project. Okay. So first of all, the Clean California Initiative, this is something that was signed into law by Governor Newsom in the summer. It's $1.1 billion out of the general fund. And this is covering several areas just to kind of beautify the state. So one of the big initiatives is just cleaning litter, because we all know that there is a lot of litter out there. We don't have the manpower to actually go out and clean everything. And we just want to make the roadside just much more attractive. So there's actually about $400 million being allocated for additional litter abatement on state highways, and that's for a 3-year period. So what we're doing at Caltrans is we're actually hiring up some very entry-level positions. They're called service assistant maintenance positions, and we have advertised those positions, and we're going to continue advertising these positions because we're going to have close to 50 of these positions within our district that's going to be spread out primarily in Fresno, Bakersfield. I believe we're going to have some in our Visalia maintenance station. We're also doing additional partnering with our local agencies. For instance, City of Visalia, City of Porterville. We have delegated maintenance agreements where we actually give money to the local agency and they could actually go out and hire people to collect litter. We're also working with nonprofits and they're able to hire up, for instance, people who are previously homeless, veterans, and other people who have been difficult to find a job. So we want to help them re-enter society and just have a very good employment. State beautification projects. So as far as state highways, we actually have a pot of about $300 million spread out throughout the district or throughout the state. Our district, I'll talk about that in a couple minutes. We got a pot of $26.6 million that we are using for the communities within our district. And these are projects that we want to beautify by improving the infrastructure. So that could be doing things like adding artwork. If we have areas where it's been very difficult to clean litter or graffiti, there's something we could do like building walls to make it easier to clean the highway. Those are some of the things we're looking at. Also giving us opportunity to do things like if we have gaps in sidewalks, if there's ways we could improve pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, those are things we also want to incorporate into the projects. But there is an emphasis on art. So, whether it's doing murals, sculptures, just different ways to just, get the community to really embrace and improve the beauty of the highways. There's a local beautification, local grant program. And this is where local agencies could apply for grants to improve the local roads or the state highways. But it's going to be a competitive process, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. And we know that litter is a problem and it requires public education. So we actually have a public education campaign that's forthcoming. It hasn't been announced yet, but we really want to get the word out. We want to change the culture that litter is something that's not acceptable. And people's behavior has to change. A lot of times people, they just intentionally litter. Sometimes they're careless. They'll put things in back of their pickups. It flies out as soon as you drive up. So that's one way that we want to combat this litter issue. Okay, local grant program. So this is really important because we're not just talking about state highways. This is the ability to have local agencies to improve the city streets, the county roads. It could also be in parks. So it's going to be a competitive grant. The local agency could apply for a grant up to $5 million. And there really is a focus on disadvantaged communities. So the areas that really haven't gotten their fair share in the past, or could need a little bit of help. So they could, besides parks, it could be, building trails. It could, again, I talked about doing sidewalk gaps. It is a competitive process though. So the local agencies really need to look in the grant. What do they feel will compete well? There's a lot of criteria that would really make it competitive, but just an area having disadvantaged population is really going to give them some points. I'll note that the funds cannot be used to displace homeless individuals, but there is a very aggressive schedule that these projects, if they're infrastructure projects, they have to be completed by June 30th, 2024. So to kind of streamline the delivery, these cannot be controversial projects. Probably not things where you want to acquire right away and just get bogged down in process. It's really important to have community engagement. And that's one of the reasons why, for instance, for the state program, we're coming out to the community and making sure that this is a project in Cutler or Rosie that the community wants. Okay, next slide. Okay, for the local grant program, there have been a series of workshops. The third workshop was actually earlier today. today's workshop was about how to apply for a grant. All these workshops that were recorded, they are available online. So if you do want to get more information, and Kurt Hatton is our District 6 coordinator, so any questions could be directed to Kurt. I'll just mention that the project is very aggressive. The call for projects is going to come out next month. They will be due in February, and then the month after that, you'll get notified whether you actually got the grant. So I will be talking about the projects that we have, but if the community wants to do a project that is off the state highway, adjacent, or it actually could be on the state highway, this is certainly an opportunity. I really want to encourage the local agencies to apply for these grants. Okay, next slide. Okay, I talked earlier about the pot of money that our district, District 6, we cover 4.5 counties. And we got a pot of $26 million that we had to spread throughout the counties and the cities. And what we looked at for the projects for us to deliver, we wanted to see, first of all, what plans were already in place, because we don't have a lot of time to deliver these projects. They actually have to be built by June 30th, 2023. That only gives us a year and a half to actually design, construct the project. So they have to be very non-controversial projects. There's not time to get right away. Community support is extremely important. And one of the reasons why we chose to do the project in Cutler Rosie is because we have already done a lot of the background things that we need to do. We already had the workshop back in June. We had that charrette way back in the early 2000s. And this is an area that's very ripe to have a project, and we knew that the community wanted to embrace this. So that's why we allocated more than 10% of our district allocation to improve Highway 63 in Cutler Rosie. Okay, next slide. Okay, actually, let's see. You may not have the latest version, but I will work with what we have. So
Do you want me to, I can pull it up.
if you could actually pull up, you pull up the file I sent this afternoon. So I just want to give a recap that we had a workshop back in June. And what we had heard from the supervisor and the community is there's a lot of concerns about pedestrian safety. There was a concern about 416, about people having a real hard time making left turns. There were a lot of asks. So what we said that, well, we're going to try to improve 416, initiate a safety project, which we actually have.
So I actually pulled up the final one. This is the PowerPoint that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
All right, well,
This
we'll
is
work
the
with it. That's good.
Okay.
So one thing we mentioned was there's a lot of things that we would like to do, but we're going to have to find the funding. So this Clean California program is going to be providing the funding. And Clean California is also going to allow us to do it in a very, very streamlined process. So just a recap on 416 or El Monte. The concern was difficulty of making left turns, and the county at the same time had a project to overlay the county road 416, which they have done. So what we are proposing to do is we want to put the dedicated left turn lanes on Highway 63 or Road 128. We're not going to have the time to actually redo the traffic signals. We would like to get protected left turn signals, but we're going to include that as part of our safety project, but it will take probably about 3 years to actually redo the signals. But at the very least, we want to get the left turn lanes in initially. Okay, next slide. Okay, north of 416, we have this stretch of Highway 63 that currently has 4 lanes. One of the things we are looking at doing is the road diet. The road diet is very important to improve pedestrian safety, because a lot of times when you have 2 lanes, one vehicle will stop in one lane and they will not stop in the other lane. So we feel it's really important to reduce the number of lanes, particularly at the marked crosswalks. We want to add rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So the ways those work is the pedestrian will either push a button or actually our newest pedestrian signals are going to be touchless. So you don't actually have to touch a button. You just kind of wave your hand in front of it, and then flashing lights will turn on. So this will actually give more indications to the motors and should improve the pedestrian safety.
Can I just add something
sure.
too? So this is an intersection that has been heavily talked about in our community, and that is the one that's in front of the Memorial Hall. I know that I almost hit someone a few years back after they had a quinceañera or a wedding. So again, we're just paying attention to what the noise has been in the community as a result to where are the key points that we need to further enhance our safety measures.
Is that white strip, is that representing a crosswalk?
Yeah,
Yes.
we're going to actually do high visibility crosswalks. So rather than just two 12-inch lines, we are going to put something that's a little bit more visible.
Wouldn't you need them also across Miller?
Well, the thing with Miller is Miller comes up to a stop sign. So we don't put crosswalks on the side streets. If that's something that the county wants to do, that's something that they could. So we're more concerned about actually crossing the highway. Some of the discussion at Miller is, do you put the crosswalk on the north side of the intersection or the south side of the intersection? So if there's any feedback about that, we would love to hear about that.
Can you repeat what you just said? Is it better to have it on the other side or this side, you're saying?
Yeah, and it depends, where are people going to? Because the parking lot is kind of diagonal, right? But where will more pedestrians actually want to cross, on the north side or the south side?
They're not gonna go to that corner house. I don't think.
So,
Well,
yeah, so where you have it is good.
So we actually have it on the south side, so that you feel that's the appropriate location.
When you say a road side, so you're equating you're gonna reduce the 4-lane into a 2-lane with a center lane or center island and pedestrian walking or bike walking on each side. So the reduction of lanes.
There's going to be a reduction of 1 lane. So there will be a center turn lane, 1 through lane in each direction. And we'd like to put bike lanes, and then we will retain parking where we can.
Is that gonna
Like,
cause any traffic jams? Are you reducing 2 lanes to 1?
That's one of the trade-offs. So, and it kind of depends on how many left turn movements, because a lot of times when that vehicle turning left in what we call the fast lane, that blocks the traffic. So it's a trade-off, and it's a trade-off between safety.
I'm here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, this is the feedback that we want to hear. Okay.
Right now, we're getting traffic from 416 all the way to the last school. I mean, the whole road is full.
Yeah.
And that's double lane. So you're gonna reduce it to 1.
That is the proposal.
I'm already seeing the problem here on 416 when they reduce it to 1 lane. When you have a red light, all the traffic goes down 2 blocks.
Yeah.
Without any semis.
Yeah, and one of the issues is we haven't fixed the signal yet, right? We got the old signal, but we want to add, we plan to add left turn signals in all 4 directions. And again, that may not happen for a couple of years, but this definitely is a trade-off. And the trade-off is we'd be improving pedestrian safety, but there would be potentially more delay.
Does it have to be reduced in order to get the mark?
It does not have to be reduced, but it would definitely be safe.
Well,
I don't know.
there are a couple times a day, in the morning drop off with students and
Right.
release of students is quite congested. I mean, he's right. The traffic is from McDonald's all the way to Del Monte School.
Okay.
It's about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
of congestion.
And another,
It is too, because somebody's turning left.
Well,
That slows the traffic.
yes.
And one of the primary reasons is after 419, it reduces from 4-lane to 2-lane, and there's no everyone's turning into the school.
Right.
And there's nobody that can pass you.
There's no left turn lane. Right.
Well, they will pass.
An expansion.
Okay, was there a comment back there?
I was just thinking it's more considered with actions that you're looking at everything for a lot of like flow situations, versus it's only going to make people going to the school residents.
lot of people like that on the farm, this is my place. So I think it's kind of misplaced there, at least in my opinion. And then you have the people are being for traffic reasons, which, I mean, I think it's just important to take into consideration what is actually there, which is only residency and a few small businesses, which don't, which isn't a very high.
Right, it doesn't drive a lot of traffic going in and out of there. But we can look at different options. I mean, one option is you actually have 2 lanes in one direction, 1 lane in the other direction. But is there some kind of consensus that we want to keep the 4 lanes as is, or is there some openness of reducing the lanes to improve pedestrian safety?
I think the 4 lanes is better. We didn't have a problem before, and I'm seeing a lot of problems right now. Only right here on the county road.
Which I could agree to that. But I will say that because it's new, I think we're really just getting adjusted to the new system. And I know it's going to take some time. But again, your points are valid in that there is some hesitancy, some trouble, some experiences that, because it's so new for us in this community.
Okay, that's very good feedback.
I think the 4 lanes encourages faster driving.
Exactly. So, and that's why, yeah. Well, see, and that's why, and I don't want to take, because this is public input, not supervisor input. Yeah, but the thing is I keep on hearing about speed. And so we need to try different measures to reduce that speed. But I think if we continue to have the 2 and 2 lanes each way, again, we're not going to be able to really stop the speeding from happening. There is a potential, as you mentioned, too, maybe a 2 lane in one direction where there is more heavy traffic, and then just having a 1 lane coming south, because many times people are going there as opposed to coming back. So that's an option. But have you seen a community do that?
Fresno has some of that, so it's been done in places. Yeah.
Or is it possible to take out the bike lanes and maybe have a bit more, even though it may be 2 and 2, but these here at the various pointers kind of make it a little bit more conducive to like a road diet per se? So
Yeah.
like just keeping the 2 and 2 lanes, but in these cross points, making sure that the island to cross is.
Yeah, you can still tighten up the intersection, you know, instead of having the parked vehicles, we could bring the curb out a little bit, not a whole lot, because we still want to accommodate the bicycles. The bicycles need about 5 feet. So we would only have to be able to bring up in the curbs by about 3 feet.
And you need both bicycle lanes on each side?
We would like to provide bicycles on both sides.
Who made the study that we need bike?
I guess if you build it, they'll come, but right now, I don't see.
Yeah, and part of the reason that they probably don't ride the bikes is they don't feel safe, right, without bike. So it's almost like a chicken and egg, but we want to accommodate all users, you know, because not everyone either wants to or always chooses to drive a car, right? I mean, some people want to walk, some people want to take the bus, some people may want to take a scooter, but we try to accommodate as many modes of transportation as possible. Yeah.
There's some students that do ride bikes, so I think we need that for the safety of them, but at the same time, I mean.
Art?
I've seen some traffic patterns, you know, freeways, for example, where they have 2 lanes, they have a turn lane instead, and they have 2 lanes, at certain times of the day, 2 lanes coming this way, and then it goes back to the low traffic periods of the day, then it's back to regular turn lane, and then the high traffic, in the afternoon, it's going the other direction.
Oh, I've seen that in LA too. Yeah.
It's a little different, I mean, if you have an education process, it's like, oh,
Yeah, that's definitely an education process. And sometimes you have to add a lot of electronic things to it.
Dodge Park. Because they go so fast to there. It's not like you're not there every day, you're there every day. You know,
419?
No, 63.
Right by the high school.
And it takes a while to get across those.
It does, it takes a while. I'm super happy about the right there from Memorial Hall. I don't park in the parking lot in Memorial Hall. I don't park at the neighbor's house. And nobody goes. I go there because I don't want to cross the street. Because usually we're there at night. And at night.
And the lighting is not
The
good.
lighting is horrible. So anyway, we can slow down traffic. Great. Now, with that being said, I live across the street from the high school. The other day when it rained, or rained, I always take two. And I live across the street from the high school because we were at a standstill with the traffic. And so I don't know how I mean, and it's just 15 minutes out of the day, 30 minutes out of the day where the traffic's horrible, yes, we can complain about that, but overall safety, that's the best. You gotta take the good with the bad. So I know when it rains, and I'm not walking because it's faster than trying to get across. But I'm with Denny lives right there. I mean, how many times have we seen people just do that?
It's more, I mean.
And then now with the sports complex, even more traffic.
How many people walking?
A lot.
Tons of people are walking now. There are so many kids that are walking to that complex. And what other state community is going to take for that? Really, we don't have very much. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. There's so many people who use it, but they're dodging across the street.
Well, we need a signal light there. We attempted to do a signal light years ago. We did a study and there was a count actually by Caltrans that justified the street light there. But somehow, it didn't, you know, it's safe at the school, it's expensive, it did not make it. So, I mean, but we did manage to get enough SPM count to qualify. So, the street light would probably be more. In that corner.
That was a few years ago now.
Yeah, it's even more.
It's a steady flow of kids.
Especially with
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's,
I mean, I can see reducing traffic, but we bus over 1,500 students a day.
Yeah.
To school and to home, and I can see our buses being slowed down quite a
being
bit.
stuck in traffic.
Like in traffic.
Well, in a few years, we're gonna have the Jetson mobile, so we can do this and then have the jets over.
Well, we could do those.
I was gonna say.
Catwalks. Is that what they call them? Catwalks?
Pedestrian overcrossing? you
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, but it's about $10 million.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Not three.
This is where the sports complex is located.
Yeah, so up at Avenue 419. So the idea is in conjunction with the road diet, we actually want to try to, ignore the little green thing in the middle of the intersection. So, yeah. It would just be standard left turn lanes. We did want to put a marked crosswalk on the south side and put high visibility markings and the flashing rectangular wrap flashing beacons. Okay. Next slide. Aya Avenue or Ella Avenue. This is by the McDonald's.
And subway.
Yeah, so the crosswalk is actually on the north side of the intersection right now, and I believe it is. And yeah, you can see remnants of the crosswalk on the north side. To us, it seemed to make a little bit more. Is it on the south side?
South side.
This is how, yeah, it's on.
Okay, it's actually on the south side. Okay,
Right now it's on
Yeah.
the north side.
Yeah,
Right
right.
now we have it on the north side.
But it's better here because there's more traffic.
right. So we're proposing to move the crosswalk on the McDonald's side.
You can't see the.
Okay, so
You know, if there's street parking with the bike lane.
Yeah.
Who's closest to the street? The bike lane or the street parking?
it could actually be done either way, but we would be proposing to do the bike lane closest to the traffic. You could actually have parked cars and then you have the bike lane on the back side of the parked cars. That's called a cycle track. It does create, you do need a little bit more width to do that. If that's something that the community really wants, I mean, we could see how we could make it work.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So this one is different from the one in Orosi. So why couldn't this be something similar all the way across from Cutler to Orosi?
Potentially it could be. So what's different on, and this is down at Cutler. This is First Drive and Avenue 404.
The one that a lot of people get to go to Caspian Heights and all that road with all the homes on that side.
So the concern that we have here is the left turn volumes. And if you have just a two-way left turn lane, you know, some people call it the suicide lane because you got the potential for head-on crashes there. And our concern is that very short distance between the two side streets. It may be better to have side-by-side left turn lanes. Now, the challenge here is to actually make this work, we may have to remove some of the street parking if we want to get the bike lanes here. And I think there is a business right over here that would probably want to retain their street parking.
Can I just add that there has been a lot of comment, at least on my part, where we are trying to reduce the parking on 63, which would then allow for a more space to work with. I think that was a thing with Mr. T. He always told me, Eddie, if you can remove all the cars from 63, they have no business parking along the main drive. So my thought would be is that we eliminate parking completely from the 63 from Cutler to Orosi, because that also hinders visibility when cars are coming and the students are walking. So if there's a potential to eliminate parking along that 63, which would then allow for the street cleaning that we do have now with the machine and all these things, then we can work with stuff like this straight across.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's horrible.
They should have never let those businesses.
They should never have.
With two parking spots.
We could work with Progreso.
I mean, I'm getting. I
Yeah.
don't mean in and out. I mean, getting kind of. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I agree, it's pretty hard to find cross. And you don't think that's.
Maybe they can make a deal with them.
Yeah, Progreso and have them park in that big parking lot, which is right next door.
Okay.
They can park across the street in those businesses, so because there will be a crosswalk that they can use. All right.
Because removing parking, a lot of times it is very controversial.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we were going to remove parking, we would actually want the board of supervisors to pass a resolution to say you would like to remove the parking. So
On 63.
Yeah.
Okay. Show of hands before this goes to the.
I don't know where you're gonna get it, but some public parking somewhere, you're gonna eliminate on-street parking. There has to be some kind of public parking.
Yeah.
Free public parking.
Which we would work with businesses that do, and those that don't, they could kind of work together as a community to provide those kind of parking.
Across the street, to go across 4 lanes to get ice cream.
But there will be a new crosswalk that will be very. So just a show of hands, so that way I know how many of you would want to eliminate parking along the 63. Eliminate parking.
I would know.
Could we just, what color do you paint it when you can't park there? I mean, just.
I value the parking on 63 because we have schools on 63. We have high school on 63 that utilize the front parking. We have a school at Cutler that utilizes some of the parking on the street. So to us, it's a value.
Yeah.
And parent that wants to go in the office for a few seconds in high school, We have, temporary parking and go. It's convenient.
And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I mean, you could keep parking in certain areas
Certain
and
areas.
eliminate it in other areas. So, but that's something that certainly we could work with the county more if that's, if there's interest in that. Okay.
And I will just share, and again, this is not my opinion per se, but the more we continue with the same, the more we're going to get the same. And right now the state is willing and able to work with Cutler or Rossi to re-envision what that looks like for the 63. But again, we also have to be comfortable with change if possible and where possible, because if not, then we're just gonna stick with the same that we have here and hear the complaints that we have heard for many, many, many times and many years. So just wanted to throw that out there. Okay.
Does any of this money allow for more streetlights?
The problem with streetlights, it takes a lot of time dealing with the utility companies getting power, and that's why we don't.
Can we do solar?
There's actually solar streetlights, and if that's something that the county wants to maintain, we would consider that.
Because there's some dark streets, there's some dark areas on that road. Well, especially there by the Memorial Hall.
Yeah.
That whole area, even down past, up to the corner of the school, that's dark.
Okay, so I talked about rectangular rapid flashing beacons and how they work. We could also add radar feedback signs. I think most of you are familiar. It just kind of tells you how fast you're going. That's just a reminder of what the speed limit is and for people to slow down. And we could install these at strategic locations along the highway. Bulb outs. Because of our compressed schedule, we may not actually be able to do bulb outs with concrete curb and gutter, but we could do what we call quick build bulb outs. It's just using plastic channelizers or bollards, and actually do some paint. And this is one way to help kind of beautify an area.
So what's the purpose of that?
The purpose of the bulb out is to visually kind of constrain the roadway. And so the pedestrian has less distance to cross the street or across the highway.
The people in the cars can see them.
Exactly.
So nobody can park right there.
There would be no parking. That is correct. Yeah. So yeah, the main purpose we're here is just to get feedback, get suggestions. Okay, because the road diet sounds very, very controversial, and what we so far I'm hearing consensus about doing rectangular rapid flashing beacons. Those are about $5,000, $15,000 each. Some radar feedback signs. So.
But I just don't want it to look like Vegas where you're
Exactly.
going in every. Oh.
Well, my preference would be to expand the road from 419 all the way back to the middle school with a sidewalk on the side and put a signal light.
Yeah, and that we're not going to be able to do with the schedule. Now, some of the things that we may be able to do with the funding is
ideal for the community and traffic.
Yeah, if there's an area that has a sidewalk gap, or where people are actually walking, there is no sidewalk, they're walking in.
No, we make the sidewalk ourselves.
I know that the county put a bunch of sidewalk in, but if there is an area, particularly on the north side, where there's a need to do any kind of pedestrian facility, that's something that can be looked at.
Would be to the east side of the sports complex.
Oh, that would be fun.
That's where she lives.
That's where I live.
See, you already have someone that's allowing you to use her.
So yeah, I did want to talk a little bit about artwork. There's really, I don't really see an opportunity for like a mural because the funding has to be used within the state right away, and the highway right away is actually fairly tight. So some of the things that we could do is our controller cabinets. We could actually have a local artist come up with something, and then we would replicate that in vinyl and wrap it around our controller cabinets at the signalized intersections. If there is some space to put different kinds of, sculptures, something like that, to kind of just, brighten up the community. That's something that we consider as well. Eddie, earlier we talked about creating public space. Again, with a very tight right of way, one thing that we talked about was actually doing parklets, which is, but unfortunately we cannot do parklets because the speed limit is too high. That requires a 30 mile per hour speed limit. And a parklet is actually building a timber structure where a car would normally park. And you could, add tables and chairs, add plants and things like that, but we will not be able to do that on the highway.
You said the speed limit's too high?
To do something like that, where you,
What speed limit? The one that's
On
there right
63.
now?
yeah, speed limit is 35 miles per hour.
Maybe we should reduce that.
Yeah, there's a process to set speed limits though. And just putting a lower speed doesn't necessarily mean the traffic's gonna go
That's
lower.
right, it won't
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
Oh, please do, please do.
I think we have a second on that.
Okay, yeah, great. So really want to get more feedback because we have this pot of money, and if we're not going to be doing the road diet, we're not sure what to do with the money. So what other ideas do you have for your community? And we talked about lighting, so we could.
Lighting, slowing people down.
Yeah.
So what are the obstacles on expanding the freeway past 17? Right of way issues or easements? What are the main issues?
It doesn't correspond with the grant
Right.
specifications.
Yeah, if that's something that the county wants to do, to actually widen the highway or work with TK, and if that's a priority to use Measure R funding, or the transportation gas tax that the county gets, they're the actual decision makers as far as where to expand the highway. Or it's when the development comes in, they're normally required to do frontage improvements.
So with regards to, like you saying, the expansion heading north from 419, that would require me to say, go to Ted Smalley, and as well as the county with Reed, and say, let's get a support letter to then send to Caltrans, because you're in charge of that road. So,
Well, it is a state highway, but TK actually controls most of the transportation funding. So if it becomes a priority, then the TK would either work with us to program a project, and we have a really good relationship with Ted Smalley,
Yeah.
or the county could actually take on this project themselves.
okay, so I'll work with Ted Smalley as well as with the county to figure out how we can work together on that. So that is a separate sidebar, and we'll work on that moving forward.
Assuming you're gonna keep four lane law.
Well, that's what the discussion is about. You guys want to reduce the lanes or not, right?
Yeah, this is, so can we go back real
Yeah,
quick?
and
So
unfortunately, a lot of the slides are missing. Kurt, do you have the slides? Some of those.
like, how many
Yeah.
do you like this? I know it.
Oh, the idea is who's maintaining the center line?
Yeah.
Who's maintaining the trees, the shrubs? Are they just gonna, be a weed, planter?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so as far as the road diet, we're actually looking at
See.
about,
This, so
Yeah.
this compared to, look at that. See the difference between, so why couldn't this be the case all across from Cutler to Rosie?
suicide lane.
what you mean with side-by-side left turn lanes in the median?
Yes. Where, or as needed.
Where it makes sense, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so the question as far as where to have the actual road diet, our proposal was to start at about Avenue 415 on the north side and go all the way to where the 4 lane stops. Down on the south end of town, we were looking at where Avenue 402 is where it starts to open up. Our proposal was, instead of opening up down at Avenue 402, open it up around Second, I think it's Second Drive. So it'd be north of this area where we'd open up the 4 lanes. So in between, Cutler and Rosie, it would still have the 4 lanes where people could pass.
Oh, okay. So between Cutler and Rosie, midway,
Yeah.
you would still have the 4 lanes.
Correct.
And then having 2 lanes past. Can you go to 419?
Okay, well, does that,
Miller.
Miller? So,
Okay.
wait, right here. No.
that's not- Exactly.
So does that change it for some of you, knowing that?
If you eliminate.
Okay.
Take out.
Okay. Just a show of hands, does that kind of change your thought process, knowing that there's still gonna be 4 lanes in between Cutler and Rosie, but then changing those lanes as you get into the center of towns for each community?
What about to the center of town that you're talking about? Is it all the way to the stop line or where it goes down the street?
Yeah, so we do have a graphic that kind of shows. So this is, in general, what the road diet, we take 4 lanes down to 3 lanes, the center turn lane and 5 lanes. Okay, so this is the area that we're proposing the road diet. The south part of town, so just south of the school. Where the school are and where the traffic signals are, it would remain 4 lanes. And then the north part of town between 415 and 419 would be the road diet.
If we eliminate the parking on the sides from 416 all the way to the high school, would you still have the 4 lanes and the turns in the middle?
That is another potential.
So you're saving the 2 sides to put them in the middle,
Yeah,
and you still have the 4 lanes. So that's what we need, the majority of the space for traffic.
okay, we could take a look at that, if there is a willingness to remove the parking.
It's a give and take, because we want to slow down traffic due to speed, but then we have to eliminate something, because we can't have it all within this project.
So the people that in that area, that take up a lot of that parking, it's just the people from the high school.
Yes.
They got a big parking.
Yes.
Well,
Parents come in and out,
parents will park in the parking. I know it's convenient, but what we do watch for the kids,
Yep.
I watch it with my window, and they're trying to come across the street, and it is so dangerous.
Well, during summer school, a car was driving about like 80 miles per hour and actually hit a parked car in front of the high school.
I like that idea, I think I do that, but as far as the parking, I was concerned about, the school would have fenced everything, that's a big area. And actually, in the grass area there, I mean, is there any way to let some more parking for that?
And
You could take a fence down.
Oh, no, you want some settings, you create parking there.
you have the
But
parking,
they're quite cool, staff parking is quite cool every day, there's no
we
room
can have
for.
the parking over there, step up, no parking there.
But people don't want to use, even though it's right next to the school.
That's a convenient factor.
It is a convenient factor, we made it a convenient factor.
I don't want to go pick up my grandkids for that traffic. If you have
It's working.
to miss.
But then also getting out of that parking lot is some houses and the kids that are coming, they're crossing the home. They're not, there's the right of way is obviously pedestrian, and so it's just very, situation kind of way.
That's a day in the morning and evening, we stagger the release time just to avoid major.
At 419, people are parked all the way down to 120, is it 124? Whatever. I mean, they're parked there waiting. to Get their garbage.
Yep.
But 419 is 63, that's what.
And so I'll just figure, something has to give.
Yes.
Something has to give, because right now there is competitive, or not competitive, but competing kind of remarks. And so what it says to the state is like, okay, so do we do something or do we not do something? And so that's the hard part, to decide, do we listen to what the community has said in the past, which is speeding? There's too much traffic, we need better safety, we need better measures. And right now the state is saying, we have money to do this, but if we as a community can't decide, then why even move forward?
I think what they need to do is do a couple of drawings, first, and then you have to decide from there.
Well, you're not gonna eliminate traffic.
Yeah, the traffic.
You're not, the traffic's there. And,
We just don't want to
everybody,
make it worse.
everybody has a car or 2, 3, or 4. But you've got to slow the traffic down.
The fix cannot be worse than
Yeah.
the existing status quo. I mean, you cannot make the fix worse than what it is now.
No, I mean, using it to one
I
lane.
think 4-lane is probably what's needed, but parking, yeah, maybe would be kind of, it'd be hard to follow.
But is that gonna slow traffic down?
If there's anything else.
I think safety wise, the 4 lanes where you mentioned, and then once we get to that intersection, Memorial Hall, change it to 2.
Unfortunately, you need, we're trying to expand the 2 4 lanes all the way to 1 because of congestion.
Yeah, but again, are we talking about the speed that now knowing that it's gonna be 4 all the way to Amani? Is that gonna even increase speed even more for people that are trying to get to and from? Knowing that, hey, I have clear access from Cutler to Almani, and I'm gonna speed as fast as I can to get.
Yeah, you want to do the weekly, right?
But like I said, this is just things to consider. So as mentioned by the state, their plan was, again, the road diets in sections of the 63 where they seem reasonable, and then going back to the 4 lanes. Again, that's just something that I think is a happy kind of in between that could work. So again, going from the 4 to the 2, going back to the 4, again, what does that look like in more of a visual form? If that's something that you can create.
Sure.
And just share with us, look, this is where it's gonna diet, this is where it's gonna expand. This is because right now it's in pieces, so it's not clearly articulated on one single kind of slide.
And we could produce a graphic that shows exactly where we're at. So yeah, I really want to show this picture of some artwork. So this is where I talked about if we have some utility boxes, controller cabinets. This is where we can have a local artist create something like this. And there's other areas where we actually have space to actually place something, to put art. Certainly we'd like more opportunity for local artists to do something like that. Brad, anything else you want to talk about art?
You showed that build out, the big build.
The build out, yeah.
Where you get some jokes of art. That's something you coordinate with the wraps with some art in that space. And I know there's some very limited in what we might do with crosswalk.
Can we have it on a redo?
We want to keep the crosswalks high visibility.
Right. Yeah.
But like the whole out, I like that.
Are we limited to how many crosswalks you can put on the street?
We're gonna have someone also, there's pictures that she can.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, well, we could transition to your presentation, but back to the question as far as limiting the number of crosswalks, the answer is no. There's no limit, but we want to make it to make sense where we put a crosswalk, right? Where people are actually going to be using. So we do have to take a look at it and ask, does it actually make sense? So if there are any other suggestions where you feel that there should be a marked crosswalk, you know, we could certainly look into that.
Right there by the Wani Junior High.
Mhm.
And between the mobile home, I see lots of children crossing by in the morning, foggy, just cross. And coming through with the big truck sometimes. Going to this lane, it's 55, and right there, when they get to the Almani, it's 35.
Yeah.
So, can we do something in there, or we put like,
There was a family that asked for crosswalk somewhere like mobile park.
there's a lot of children, a lot.
Okay.
I sent some pictures where kids are crossing and they just not
Yeah,
break.
the mobile home park used to be retirement, now it's changed.
Yeah.
A lot of families and a lot of students cross. And it's not traditional where there's this cross street, but we would like a side cross.
Maybe close to the
Crosswalk
parking
there,
lot.
because we do have a lot of students.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll take a look at that. I think we'll transition to the other presentation, and if that kind of, you know, if you get some ideas from that, we certainly would like to hear more about that.
And I have a question for the supervisor.
Yes.
One of these days, we need to do this now, they process the whole town. If we ever get a heavy rain, we're gonna get flooded. Okay, there's so much trash, homeless, are leaving everything. And I sent you pictures before. We haven't had a cleanup since
Last one.
Harness was a supervisor back in '86. That's the last time. So you can imagine how it is.
Hernandez here, so he heard your comments.
I second that.
I do too. I think all the ditches and things before.
Well, no, our main canal is here because our water comes from the north and it stops right here. And we always have a breakup of the canal spitting out because of, you know, all the trash.
So I know that county staff has been really good when people have called for the basins, the funding basins. So they've been really good at like the next year or so going out and cleaning those.
Yes, they did.
So what, but we'll put that note now and working with Alta irrigation on that.
That's the challenge, because Alta irrigation,
Yeah.
cleaned it now.
They cleaned the small ones, but they haven't cleaned this big.
So the flood control, I'm not out.
Alta irrigation, but the county will meet with Alta irrigation. Discuss that.
I do appreciate this.
The last time they got cleaned was by prisoners or, I mean, people. Yeah,
The state has changed a lot of those
and they
regulations.
changed.
But yeah, really noted.
All right, hi, so I'm from TCAG and we're partnering with the county to put together a grant application for the 2022 ATP cycle. It's due in June, and so I wanted to start conversations of engaging the community about different ideas that we can put into the grant proposal. Unlike Caltrans, it's not funding that we have that's secure and ready to go, which is great. It's a grant, it's really competitive, super competitive, but I am willing to work with you all and write an application that hopefully will be successful given the tragic history of this area.
We wanted to get a grant for cleaning the canal.
Yeah, there's a lot of, yeah, but right now okay. I'll talk to you about that, right? About cleaning the canal. We could actually do a Clean California grant for that. And I would be happy to work with, I guess, I don't know who would, that would be a Clean California grant. And that is due. Yes.
Keep in touch with our local assistance office and check all the guidelines.
Okay. What is the canal? Where is this?
Where?
Yeah.
It crosses the main,
It's the,
it's in
Sang
between
Creek
Thunder
Canal.
Road all the way up.
Sang Creek
Okay.
Canal.
And it's really dirty.
It's a lot of traffic. You wanna meet me tomorrow?
Okay, well, let's put together, I mean, I would like to help with coordinating a grant application for this. This would be part of the,
Wasn't there some places almost living in the canal? Oh,
Yeah.
every bridge, there's people
Yeah,
there.
everything.
would that be county area that it, no, the county, we would have to work with the county, right? Reed or something, okay. Okay, so we can talk about that. Right now, this is, okay.
Most of the properties where the canal goes belongs to every individual owner. That's why it's so hard to bring prisoners in, because they get hurt and they can sue the owner of the property.
Well, the state is no longer allowing.
Okay, well, we need to figure out something.
And this is the homeless ones. That way there's no traffic. Because those are the problems.
Okay. Mhm.
Just here within a mile, we have 4 bridges and they're living there.
So we'll, I'll get in contact with you about that. That's a separate grant right now. Where I'm just trying to get everybody's focus on this grant. There's so many different ones, which is the ATP grant 2022. And so if we do get awarded as a community, the application is due in June. Awards would be announced in December of next year. And this is a very tight timeline. Preliminary assessments and environmental documents will take about a year. We do have a lot of probably right-of-way. Construction would start 2025, and the soonest we could see something is like 2026. So this is a longer term application, unlike what Caltrans is doing, which all the changes will be done by 2024. So whatever can't be done there with the Caltrans proposal, you guys can come to me to see, well, what can we do to kind of put this in the ATP grant? Use this as an opportunity to active transportation. So okay, so it's just about walking and biking. And I just wanted to some of these pictures. Oh, my battery's running.
So this is the old safe house.
This is the old Safe Routes to School grant. Yeah, and I know that it's 7:30 and we're time. Not sure what happened here. I just wanted to quickly show these 2 slides in terms of artwork ideas of crosswalks, quick build solutions. These are kids that you know, are doing different things. This could be possibly done with the Caltrans grant. And I just wanted to share those pictures for you all to think about. So for the active transportation grant, which is all about walking and biking, I just wanted to have everybody fill out a survey that I passed to everybody there. And I put everything in Spanish, thinking I'll have mostly Spanish-speaking people here today. But if you guys can help me fill out the survey as we go through this presentation, that would be really great. So do you all have a copy of it?
This is the survey she's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll yeah, just really quickly. I mean, so the first one is, how do you prefer to travel? And I know this is kind of just some groundwork, and your results will help me with writing the grant and the narrative. And so this is just wanted to get a sense of where everyone is at right now. All right, and then the second question is, what type of a cyclist are you? If you know, if you were a cyclist, if you did want to bike, do you fall in this category of like the strong and the fearless, the concerned and interest? Oh no, concerned and interested is third. I put everything in Spanish. The second one is enthusiastic, and they're ready to ride on a bike lane. The third one is somebody that is interested, but they need some more, I don't know, separation or something more than just to paint a line on the street. And the other one is just, I'm not going to do this.
So one of the things that I will share, I've seen this done in other cities or counties where they do paint kind of the intersections. That also is a kind of speed reducing because people will kind of pass through. I will share that I've seen some cities, not here, but elsewhere, where like if it's near a school, they'll actually paint the colors of the school, meaning like if maroon and black for Rosie High School, they'll put a cardinal right in the middle of the crosswalk. So things like that could also be considered.
Okay. This question is actually really important because it kind of like gives us a gauge of where we're at as a bicycle riders in this community. And if we're, it just really helps with a lot of analysis that I might be doing moving forward. And question 3 is, you know, how much separation would you like to see? There's this bike rider that has no separation at the bottom here. This guy would be like the strong and fearless, kind of merges and jives in with the traffic. Same with, yeah, this one. But then there are other people that might prefer more separation. Planter boxes. This one is somebody in Copenhagen. I took an example from Europe where there's some grade separation, or this last one here where you have planters. So I'm just curious what type of separation you're interested in, and based on that, how frequently would you walk if you picked that? And then 5, how frequently would you bike? Okay, and then 6 is just kind of what impedes what prevents you from walking. So I'd like to hear, is it, you know, put some pictures up here. 7 is, do you think you would like incentives to help with walking? And if you do, then this grant can provide that. So there's a whole side for creating, there is money that can be put aside for incentive programs to motivate people, encourage people. Another one is like an adult bike training class where I can help with writing part of the grant of creating like women's safety bicycle class trainings, if that's something of interest, or something like a walking school bus where, and so this would be called a non-infrastructure grant. And so there is a lot of funds out there for this, which is like a walking school bus is a parent or a teacher will pick up a good group of kids and then keep going along with a sign. So our strategy here is we think that we could be competitive with this grant if we kind of leverage what Caltrans is doing, just like understand their